Welcome back to the top 10 best gold farms of the week. Let us begin. Starting off with number 1, we have the wonderful gold farm of the 𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻 hatchling. This one is located within 𝐆𝐀𝐿𝐴𝐻 within Northrend. This is one that you can gain from the 𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻 Raptors at a 0.09% drop chance. Now the 𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻 Raptors are actually located just around 𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻, and that means that you're going to be wanting to do a circular shaped fashion. With this gold farm, what you're going to be really wanting to do is you can i.e. bring a skinner with you, because you'll be killing a lot of raptors to gain a lot of Borean leather and Arctic fur, because they have a decent chance of getting Arctic fur, as well as when you're actually farming this up, you'll be doing a circular shaped motion going around the zone. By the time you've actually got back to the way you started, the first raptor will have respawned, which is perfect for a gold farm. Now the 𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻 hatchling goes from anywhere from 30,000 to like 40,000 gold for this battle pet, and leveling up to level 25 brings it an extra like 5 odd K from my findings. This is a perfect one to start off our list at number 1. Moving on to number 2, which is the Dwarven Dice gold farm. This one is located within Icecrown within Northrend once again. This one is next to the Onslaught Harbour in the northwest of the map. This has its own particular area and it has a drop chance of around about 0.7%. This isn't that much of a problem, as there are tons of Scarlet mobs, which are the Onslaught Raven Archons, the Fallen Hero Spirits, the Onslaught Darkweavers, the Onslaught Death Knight, the Onslaught Footman, and the Onslaught Harbour Guard. All of these have a chance of dropping the Dwarven Dice, and if you run this on your rogue, you'll be able to pickpocket this toy off of these guys. Now, judging by this, you have such a wide berth around pretty much the entire area, farming up all of these mobs, that you're basically not going to run out of pockets to pick, so you don't need to reset these guys by killing them. By the time you've actually done a complete loop, they should have respawned their pickpockets. And also on the Discord under farmed info, I have my macro, which I'm currently using in this video in order to actually pickpocket these mobs just by moving my mouse over and pressing. So if you want that macro, then feel free, it's on the Discord, so that will help out. The Dwarven Dice sells relatively okay, and it's one of my particular best sellers when it comes towards all of the rogue type dices. This one's the most easiest one in order to farm up, as there is such a high density of these mobs. I can actually gain quite a lot of these, and I always try and keep around about 2 of these on the auction house at any one given time. Now, judging by this, the Dwarven Dice goes from anywhere from around about 30 odd thousand all the way up to 100k depending on your server, so you may want to check this out inside of my add-on Worth It, which under toys will actually descript you to that and also actually take you towards the gold farm. That being said, that one is a prime pick for a decent gold farm that I find very reliable. Which brings us on to our next gold farm, which is my all-time favourite dungeon to farm transmog, and that is Dire Maul. Dire Maul has quite a wide variety of different types of transmog items that you can actually gain from this, along with a load of open world drops which you can get from this dungeon as well. How you actually farm this up is I generally will run into the instance, jump down, gather up all the mobs and burn them down, and then I will dream walk in and out of the instance, resetting the dungeon. This is my fast method. If I want to do a full clear, then I run all the way back to the instance after dropping down, as the mob density after that fact is not worth my time. However, you do need to slay these guys obviously by the end of the instance if you are doing a full clear. Things such as the Orphic Braces, the Elemental Remnant, the Phasing Boots, the Stonebark Gauntlets, Unbridled Leggings, Eidolon Talisman, and the Wand of Arcane Potency. That one's actually pretty dang good because it's pretty much always going for around about 40 to 50k on the auction house, which I'm loving very much. Other different types of items that you can gain from this is the Fiery War Axe, Staff of Jordan. You can also get the Glorious Leg Plates from some specific ogres outside of the instance, if that helps. But alongside that, the dungeon itself garners quite a wide variety of different types of herbs from all of the mobs that you'll be slaying. This means that you'll get a ton of all of the vanilla based herbs, as well as a load of fell cloth. This is actually quite a good fell cloth farm, and if you send that over to your tailor, you can also turn that into moon cloth by purifying it in a moon well and then sell that on for additional gold. With that being said, this gold farm is one of my prime staples, and I've been doing it over and over and over again throughout the years, as it's never failed to provide transmog materials and just a decent gold per hour for my time invested. Which then brings us on to our next gold farm at number 4, which is the Platinum Ore gold farm within 𝐆𝐻𝐿𝐴 Sound. What you're going to be wanting to do is make your way over towards 𝐾𝐿 and go over towards 𝐆𝐻𝐿𝐴 Sound. Here you'll be wanting to make your way over towards Vigil's Hill, as that's primarily where I start. You'll be wanting to actually have at least rank 3 with herbalism, just so you know, because there's quite a lot of anchorweed and it's a prime pick for a multi-farm. As well as rank 3 in Storm Silver Ore and also Platinum Ore. And all of the others are a nice little uptick, but don't garner that much gold. Those ones are your keynotes, and everything else you can get your rank 3s or rank 2s, that's perfectly fine, and you'll be able to get a decent amount of gold that will sell relatively fast, as they're all material based, and with the region wide auction house this will actually sell a lot faster. The route is on the screen right now, and I generally find this to be one of the most easiest gold farms in order to do. I found it very casual, and I very much enjoyed it in BFA. That's why I talked about it while we were doing the Brutusaur challenge. So that's a nice quick gold farm that you can do right there. Following on to that, we have at number 5 is the Molten Core gold farm. This one will require you to have a miner. This is because there are multiple different nodes of dark iron ore within said raid, and what you're going to be wanting to do is not take out any of the bosses. What I primarily do is burn down all of the trash, gain a load of the 4 fiery cores and lava cores, and as they are used to gain reputation with the Thorium Brotherhood, as well as I also make sure to farm up all of the nodes for the dark iron ore, which also has a chance of dropping Blood of the Mountain. On that note, Blood of the Mountain actually can be dropped from the Molten Destroyers within said raid. Make sure to pinpoint those guys, because those giant golems can actually just drop those Bloods of the Mountain at a higher rate than the dark iron ore, and they net roughly around about 1 to 2k depending on the market thus far, and can generate a decent amount of gold overall. I primarily do is I make my way in there, take out all of the Molten Destroyers, farm all of the nodes, then Dreamwalk in and out of the instance, bringing me back to the beginning again, which then I can reset and jump back in. Do not take out any of the bosses, otherwise you will not be able to reset this, and that being said, it is just a generally good gold farm if you want some reliable gold that will sell pretty much overnight. Moving into at number 6 is the Twilight Cultist gold farm. What you're going to be wanting to do here is make your way over towards Silithus. Within the said zone, you'll be wanting to go to one of 3 base camps for the Twilight Cultists. Running around in a circle, taking them all out in the actual area, will actually reset them by the time you finish killing the last one, so they'll start respawning. This is pretty good to remember. However, the items of note that you gain from this is the encrypted Twilight text, which can be actually used to gain as a turning quest rewards from a NPC in the same zone. Generally sell relatively fast in the grand scheme of things on the auction house, and additional types of things that you actually gain along with this is the Twilight Cultist robes, Twilight Cultist cowl, and the mantle. Those great items can actually fetch a decent type of price on the auction house, as those ones give a specific type of appearance. Other different types of items that you actually gain from this is obviously Tibu's Blazing Longsword, which is a keynote item for this Transmog gold farm, as well as the Glorious set in general. You can pretty much get all of the Glorious pieces from these mobs, and it can fetch a decent price on the auction house, along with the Lofty set as well as all of that. Other different types of recipes that you actually gain from this that net a very decent gold value is the Transmute Life to Earth, Water to Undeath, the Lifelike Mechanical Toad, which that schematic can go for around about 30 odd K, which is brilliant. You also have a chance of getting hold of the Plans of the Persuader, which I managed to sell on the auction house a few months back for 125k, which overall was pretty good. You can also get all of the plans for the thorium armor set as well as the radiant armor set if you are a blacksmith, and sell those on the auction house as well. What I'd primarily do is get at least a couple of these and actually put them on my blacksmith, and they're pretty good at selling, especially the thorium set, because the thorium set makes you look like a Stormwind Guard, and primarily because I'm on an RP server, a lot of people roleplay as a Stormwind Guard, so I can actually sell those on the auction house for a decent profit when it comes to all of that, as thorium is relatively cheap. That being said, the Stormrender gauntlets are another keynote item you can gain from this gold farm and can be sold on the auction house for a decent chunk of gold as well. This one is best done in a group, however, if you do plan on doing this solo, I would suggest doing it in a circular state motion around the camp, taking out all of the mobs and making a macro of /tar, Twilight, and for me it would be Moonfire. Which next up on our list at number 7 is the Nether Dragonflight Gold Farm. Now this one is located within 𝐵𝐻𝐻𝐿 Mountains, and this one is primarily pretty dang good, because if we head over towards 𝐵𝐻𝐻𝐿 Mountains and we go towards this area on the map right now, you'll be able to do an oval shape farm of all of the dragons there. They have a chance of dropping the nether dragon scales along with a load of not hide leather, so you will need outland skinning, and you'll be able to get a lot of the nether dragon scales from these particular mobs and be able to sell them on the auction house. Primarily, if you save them and use them to create the nether dragon scale sets, that works out pretty well as well. However, when it comes towards this gold farm, by the time you've actually completed your loop around taking out all of the dragons, mainly going around the edge of the actual little part of the zone that you're in, they will have respawned, as this was a main questing hub, and thus a load of these mobs have to be up at any one given time, which means if I farm them in a circular save motion, by the time I get back to the beginning again, they will have respawned and have or started respawning. This works out incredibly well when I'm actually going about doing my gold farm, and overall I find this to be a very reliable one if you just want to get a hold of some reliable gold relatively quickly. Sticking with skinning at number 8, and something that I should have really talked about a few months earlier, but I'm going to talk about it now because it's still providing a decent gold per hour. Going back, a load of the 𝐵𝐻𝐿 items were now able to be craftable, and now you can farm up primal bat leather as well as primal tiger leather. These ones are now instance droppable within 𝐵𝐻𝐿. And remember that it is a heroic dungeon, so don't take out any bosses, otherwise you will get locked to the instance. What you're mainly going for is taking your skinner, going in there and going around all the way past all of the trash mobs, burning them down and picking up a load of the hojos and all of the other different types of coins that you gain along with this to sell on the auction house as well. As an additional note, you can actually take out all of the bats and also the tigers in order to get a hold of these different types of leathers, which are currently going for a stupid amount of gold. I did 10 runs testing out this gold farm just to see if it was still viable, and I netted around about 20 odd K for an hour's worth of farming, which is totally insane at the moment with the region-wide auction house. So the amount of gold I'm actually able to pull in per hour for this is working out really well in the grand scheme of things. Just don't forget to not take out the bosses, otherwise you will be locked to the instance and you will not be able to reset your mobs, so just bear that one in mind. This gold farm is primarily really good at the moment, and I would highly recommend anyone farming this stuff up to farm up this primal bat and tiger leather, as it is generally selling incredibly fast at the moment at a stupidly high markup, and is definitely well worth your time farming up. Coming in at number 9 is the Captured Firefly Battle Pet. This one is located within Zanga Marsh within Outland. What you're going to be wanting to do is make your way over towards the westward side of the map, where you'll find a load of bog flare needlers. These have a 0.08% chance of dropping the captured firefly, which can actually sell for a decent chunk of gold. This goes from anywhere from around about 40 odd thousand all the way over to the couple of 100,000s depending on your server. However, this gold farm is incredibly lucrative if you are lucky on your RNG. Over the last few weeks I've been farming this up and I've managed to gain around about 2 of these lovely things in an hour's worth of farming. An hour for each, obviously, not 2 in 1 hour. For farming this up, I generally go around in a loop-shaped fashion. Much like most gold farms, I find this to be quite handy in order to do while I'm watching something or catching up on something in the background. I can actually farm up this mindlessly, especially like a day off of work where you can just zone out for 5 minutes because you're tired still. And I can still pull in a decent size amount of gold. When it comes to actually this gold farm, you can see on the screen right now where all of the spawn locations are for the bog flare needlers. It's generally in the top side of the map, so we'll have to keep more centralised to this gold farm and just going in a lovely little loop-shaped fashion, picking off all of these bog flare needlers. One other thing that I did do while we're actually farming this up is picking up the glow caps. Now, I used 𝐆𝐀𝐌𝐄 data and then just picked up all of the glow caps to go along with this, and they're going for an amount of 53 odd gold a piece for a glow cap. So I was able to bring in materials as well as farming up these bog flare needlers, bringing up the gold value, and that's why it's such a decent gold farm, is because I can pick up these glow caps for literally not that much time, along with waiting for these lovely guys to respawn, and then I have a chance of getting the bog flare needler, which can go for a decent chunk of gold, as well as the glow caps, which sell incredibly fast at a stupidly high markup for what they are, as they are used in the 𝐆𝐀𝐿𝐼 reputation, or failing that, if you are exalted, you can also trade those in for the tiny spore bat, the 𝐆𝐀𝐿𝐼 reputation vendor. Don't forget about that one, as that little battle pet can actually sell for a decent chunk of gold on the auction house. Which brings us on to our last gold farm, and one that I primarily love overall. Now, I've talked about this every single year since I've been on YouTube, so which is coming up around about 7 years, and this is the Black Fathom Deeps. The Black Fathom Deeps in general, it's a very easy gold farm if you have a druid or a monk who can actually portal in and out of the instance. Failing that, you'll have to go back to the instance entrance, and that will take time off of. It's primarily better done with a druid or a monk for obvious reasons, as you can get more runs in the hour, and I can clear my full 10 set. The reason why Black Fathom Deeps is such a lucrative transmog gold farm is because of items such as the Axe of the Enforcer, 74,000 gold, the Tree Bark Jacket, 10,000 gold, the Martyr's Chain for 9,998 gold, the Doom Spike, 16,000 gold, Evocator's Blade for 3,000 gold, the Onyx Claymore, 60,000 gold, Grim Claw, which is a pretty nice little transmog item for a one-handed axe, and that's 70,000 gold, the Crescent Scepter, 24,000 gold, the Staff of the Freya for 5,000 gold, and the Staff of the Blessed Seer for 1,000 gold. Obviously, items such as the Onyx Claymore, Grimclaw, and the Axe of the Enforcer are your keynote items that you're generally going for, and overall you can get a lot of different types of recipes to go along with that. So if you're a little bit behind on your recipes, add that to your characters and then make sure that they've got those recipes on them for your general crafting. When it comes towards this gold farm, I can just about get all 10 runs within the hour with my druid, her dreamwalk, and my speed set, which is pretty dang good, and I'm able to get at least one decent transmog item per lockout for this on average, and sometimes I've actually been rather lucky and got around about 3 in 1 hour, which is generally pretty good. If you are getting into transmog and you're trying to go for some high-end transmog just in general, this is definitely a gold farm I would highly recommend. Other than that, this is everything I have to say for the top 10 gold farms of the week. If you want any other additional types of information or gold making resources or video guides, then please feel free to go over towards the Patreon where you can access my TSM profile. Other than that, have an awesome rest of the day, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be soon.